Now let's
Wait, somebody wanted to call in chat.
Hello.
Wow, hi, what's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you doing?
Doing okay.
That's good.
How's life been? It's been a long time.
Life is great. Life is, well, it's as good as it can be. Okay.
Okay. You want
I know
to introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Jake, and I do absolutely nothing. I used to be a StarCraft pro gamer. Then I did a lot of influencer marketing, but now I'm doing more trying to understand what is going on. But I think some of the skill sets that I've built up over these last couple careers does kind of empower me in some ways, and especially in trying to figure out motivations of influencing in general. So I think I've come up with some ideas, and I think I've come up with some motivations based on my past, and it somewhat aligns with what's going on in the world, especially in the world of Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Okay, yeah. What do you want to? That's kind of vague and broad. So yeah, what do you got?
It is vague and broad.
No,
Yes.
it's all good. Go ahead. Hone in on it.
So I've been trying to figure out what exactly is going on in terms of how these behaviors align with their interests and not actually the people's interest. Obviously, we know they don't actually care that much about the people, but I'm trying to figure out how this benefits them.
Okay.
So I put myself in their shoes and I ask myself, how would they behave if they knew a US recession was imminent and unavoidable?
Okay.
So really, I think at this point, they are at a position where there is an unavoidable recession, and they want to figure out ways that they can capitalize on this. Definitely not go down for the blame.
If you don't mind me asking, why do we think a U.S. recession is unavoidable at this point?
I think the U.S. recession is unavoidable because essentially, if our inflation targets were correct, and in the sense that if we were on track to hit our inflation targets, we probably wouldn't be cutting rates so aggressively. The fact that we can't cut rates anymore, and the fact that we've been cutting rates at all, suggests that there's a bit more, I think, strain on the system than we think in general.
Wait, I thought aren't rates pretty high right now, or did they just announce huge rate
Rates
cuts?
are pretty high. Mm-hmm. Rates are pretty high, but they are not as high as they used to be, and we're still cutting them down.
Okay.
But my point being, I think Donald Trump and Elon Musk need like 0% rates yesterday, not like, what rates we're at right now.
Okay.
And I don't think it's possible for them to get those rates that they really want.
Okay. And why do you think they want those rates?
I think they need those rates for a lot of reasons.
Like
that's like the whole point, But TLDR, Elon actually, his wealth is not on paper as much as we think it is. It's more based on borrowing against his shares. I think everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this cannot go on forever. Even if you have $100 billion, $200 billion, $300 billion, whatever. If you borrow this on a valuation of a company that was overvalued in the first place, mm-hmm. I imagine that at some point here, the interest that you pay on hundreds of billions of dollars when your asset beneath that is worth not that much does come to a breaking point at some point.
Okay, sure.
So really, if you want to keep the party going, you need 0% interest rates, because as soon as the interest comes up, it's like, okay, well, now the party can no longer sustain itself unless we actually start making money, unless we actually start proving our value. Because
is there that much of a direct connection between the way that these guys do these types of like secured loans? Is there that much of a direct connection with the federal funds rate? Like I can understand if we were talking about like mortgages and stuff, but you think so? Okay.
Here's why I think so. So maybe not directly them, but imagine if the banks mm-hmm. feel that pressure. Like if a bank is starting to feel pressure and needs liquidity, and it's loaned like hundreds of billions of dollars to someone with an asset that we know isn't valued what it is, you might feel a little bit of pressure, even if his dollar amounts of margin calling or whatever is a very low amount. If you feel pressure that you need that money now, then you might basically call your loan on them anyways in some ways. Okay. So even if Elon doesn't feel direct pressure, he doesn't even need to be the one to feel the direct pressure. Whoever has his loans needs to feel the direct pressure.
Sure. Okay.
That's why it's really, really important that Tesla does not go down for him, right? And then you think about it, why would Elon get in bed with Donald Trump knowing that absolutely 100% if he does this, his consumer base will collapse? This is very simple, like business 101. You do not get in bed with anything politically damaging to your core consumer base. And there's nothing more politically damaging for your consumer base than basically being a primarily left, like leaning, eco-friendly consumer, and then essentially tying yourself to Donald Trump, who is absolute opposite in terms of his policies and public viewing.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense unless he already knew his company was fucked.
Okay.
Like, then it's more of a desperation move. It's either bankruptcy 100%, or maybe I can cash in and get some political power here, and maybe I can get 0% interest rates, and maybe I can get government contracts for SpaceX, and maybe I can kind of shift my wealth away from my public company to my private ones. But in terms of Tesla, who the fuck gives a shit, right? I need to get my money machine out of Tesla, and I know that company's going down, so I need a good excuse for it to go down,
Okay.
That's my thoughts.
Okay. What do you want me to do?
By the way,
yeah.
Well, I wrote it all out. I'm just responding to your questions, but
okay.
Do you feel like anything I'm saying is like misguided or flawed so far?
The biggest issue that I have with any explainer is that I feel like it's the actions are so chaotic, it's hard to find a consistent through line on anything. So like, if what you were saying is true, I don't think it's the worst idea ever, but like if what you're saying is true, like this is something I have a hard time figuring out. Like, why would Elon Musk make enemies with other countries that could be buying contracts from like Starlink?
Good question.
Is Starlink? Wait, Starlink is owned by SpaceX, right? Or is it a totally separate company?
It's owned by SpaceX.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my understanding is right now most of Elon Musk's wealth is probably in, is almost for sure related to SpaceX.
Yes.
Yeah. There's more liquidity there. Like if you were to start to bail on Tesla, that stock is crashing immediately. I don't even know if he's $100 billion in Tesla. I have no clue what that would be worth if he would actually start like mass selling his shares. But SpaceX is that's his real shit. And there's like a real product there that is working and it's not being promised, years and years into the future. It's auto self-drive. But then when I look at it, I look at it though, I'm like, God damn, like you're ruining your reputation with the entire rest of the fucking world. Like it just seems like the worst thing in the world. But so it's the only thing that's hard for me is the actions of this administration. It's so hard to even accuse them of like corruption on like a material gain wealth level because everything's just so fucking stupid. Yeah, that's my issue.
I agree with you, but I also think we should give them a little bit more okay, listen, I agree with you, but I also think there's very basic understandings of business principles that they absolutely know.
Okay, what is that?
Overall, well, like for example, like I said, like pissing off your consumers is a really bad idea. Like this is just a basic fucking basic knowledge, I guess to your point, SpaceX and the value of SpaceX. Like if you think about Starlink, right? It's a good idea, right? How many people do you think on the planet right now who don't have access to internet? Like how many people on the planet can he even monetize? Like we're looking at like we're looking at like rich countries because it's a pretty expensive cost. It's not going to be Africa, for example. Of those rich countries, we're looking at relatively rural populations because all of the infrastructure for cities is definitely connected to the internet. Like how many consumers are there that actually he can connect? And I know this doesn't quite answer your question, but I guess my point being,
I guess you're right. Yeah, it's probably not that big.
That much sense.
Yeah, Starlink is actually probably not a huge cash cow.
Here's where I think Starlink makes a lot of sense. Let's say you were living in the biggest bubble of all time, right? And you've raised infinite money forever on absolutely nothing. This Starlink might be the only chance in human history to actually put space infrastructure up, right? Because once this bubble pops, that may never be accessible again. Right? At least not for 20, 30 years. So what if instead of figuring out the business model now, we rush to get infrastructure up in space that we can maybe use later, right? Like once it's up there, regardless if I go bankrupt or not, it's a private company, so I'm not going to really lose anything.
Well, that's like half true, although I don't know what the lifespan is on a deployed low Earth or high Earth orbit thing, because those things are decommissioned fairly regularly, but I don't know how.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But also they can't really, like this train of satellites going up cannot go on forever. Like at some point there needs to be an end consumer. Yeah. There are end consumers, don't get me wrong, but then you think of like simple telecom utility companies like Bell Canada. I'm from Canada. How many, if I could say I'm going to charge every single Canadian $100 a month across the entire country, regardless if they want it or not, because they need it. That sounds like a really good business model, right? Especially if I was SpaceX and I said
Yeah, if
this,
you have
but
guaranteed customers that are, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, cool, man. So you're a utility company. They already exist and have existed for a really long time. Like, are you sure this company is worth more than like everything combined, basically?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the valuations ever made sense, ever.
For
but
what?
I do think if you're just for SpaceX and Tesla, Tesla is just like obvious.
Tesla is
but even
obviously not. For SpaceX, I have no idea, yeah.
Well, like, just it's such an expensive thing. Like, we see rockets exploding all the time, and he's
Well, I don't
basically
know how
saying
expensive
that
it
Starlink,
is. Like when one of those things blow up, how much are one of those rockets? Do you know the cost?
I think he said somewhere, but it's not cheap.
How
Maybe
much
somebody in chat knows,
does
but it's a
it
fuck
cost?
ton of money.
Yeah,
Like,
no, but
it's
when you say
not-
fuck ton of money, like if it was like $10 million, that's significantly
no,
different than
no,
like
no,
a
no,
billion
no. I
dollars.
thought it was at least $1 billion.
That seems no shot. I can't believe that. Wait, hold on. How much does exploding SpaceX rocket cost? Somebody
Don't forget,
find this.
we're talking about Starship specifically, not like Falcon 9s or anything smaller. We're
Yeah,
talking
sure.
about the big boy,
How
the
much
biggest rocket ever made.
does Starship cost if it crashes?
It just explodes. Moneymaker is Falcon. It is funny. That is actually the moneymaker, but Starship. If Starship is cheap, he has not been messaging like it's cheap. He's been messaging like everyone that blows up is a serious deal. It's definitely not cheaper than Falcon.
Okay, I don't know. Fuck me. But okay.
Yeah,
go
anyways,
ahead.
let's just assume it's a lot. I mean, I
Sure.
don't know. It's definitely more than any of the other ships that they have, and they consistently explode, and they really don't even have much utility. Like, it's almost like a distraction. Like Starlink, like Starship will never do what we say it's going to do. It's never going to go to Mars. It's never going to go to the moon. Like, we just know that.
Well,
It's
wasn't
not
the point
possible.
for? Wait, what is the point? Wait, Falcon is probably the thing that
point-
delivers stuff to like low Earth and high Earth orbit, right?
Yes,
Wait,
but I
what
think
what
the
does
point of
Starship do?
Starship does nothing. It just blows up. But maybe one day it will deliver a lot of Starlink efficiently. But that's it. It's not going to the moon. It's definitely not going to Mars. It needs to
Sure.
refuel like 30 times in low Earth orbit just to go to like the moon. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like the economics. Like, Saturn V in the 60s went from the ground all the way to the moon and back in some ways. And the whole point is like every single kilogram of weight is important, and we're sending up a gigantic fucking stainless steel massive thing for what exactly? So like, for what? Like,
Well, I don't
it's
know.
very
What are we
expensive
supposed to
to
do
send
for
all
it?
this
Let
shit
China
up.
answer. I don't know. What is the goal of Starship? Yes,
think the
metal.
whole
You're saying
point
it's
is
for heavier payloads. What payload though? What heavier payload?
Starlink. But the point is, it's
Wait,
just
wait.
supposed to go to
Does
low Earth orbit.
Starship
That's it.
deliver Starlink? I thought that's what the
That's what they
Falcons did.
want. That's what he wants it to do.
Oh,
It doesn't
okay.
even do that. It does nothing. It just
Okay.
blows up right now. Okay. All it does is blow up. That's it. It does not do anything.
Somebody said Starship, if it works to low Earth orbit, lowers the cost massively. It aims for $200 per kilogram, which is super low. Okay.
Just to send Starlink, though, right?
Wait, what?
Like, it can probably potentially take a bunch of weight into low Earth orbit, maybe, but it's not like it can go from there to the moon or to Mars. You know, like,
Sure. Yeah.
it's out of fuel.
We
and
understand that.
stuff
Yeah.
like- Right. So it's really good at lifting a lot of shit into low Earth orbit, but it's not really good at doing what Elon says it's going to do, which is go to Mars / the moon.
Did
It
he
needs
really
to
say
refuel
that
it.
says it's going to go to Mars or the moon? Is it Starship it's
I
supposed
mean,
to do that?
that's how he messages it. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's definitely what he says. He says we're going to be on Mars in like a couple of years or whatever.
Well, sure.
but
Yeah.
it
I
doesn't
don't know if he
matter.
uses
Yeah.
if he's messaging with Starship for that. When I say I don't know, I sound sarcastic, but I really don't know. I don't.
No, he does message it. Like,
Okay.
there's a whole point of Artemis and like his moon landing contracts, or it has to do with Starship, but it just will never happen by the way it's designed. And it's not designed to do that. It's designed to take a bunch of weight into low Earth orbit.
Okay. Wait. Do you want to? There's another guy who wants to chat about this too. Do you want to all jump in a call?
Sure, but we're not even at like.
Oh, okay, fine.
We're not
Okay,
even anywhere.
okay, go for it.
We're just at the point where like I'm saying Elon is probably more. He needs more money than we think he needs. You know, like that's where I am. Like we're
Okay,
not
sure.
even at any point of anything.
Okay, go for it. All right, what else you got for me?
All right. So essentially, I'm proposing that we need low interest rates. Like at least Elon and Trump both benefit from it,
Okay.
and I can explain why in other ways. Like Trump's business empire, particularly, is in real estate, and we know low interest rates always benefited. When interest rates came back up, the velocity of money within the housing market decreased a lot. Right. Essentially, everyone had locked in rates forever, and no one was really incentivized to sell anymore. And in general,
It's
we
still
didn't see
like
much
that
movement
today, I
in real
believe.
estate. Yeah, yes, it is. It is like that.
Because even when
But it
rates go
also-
up, people make the mistake of assuming that if rates are up, it means that mortgage rates are up. But the reality is it's only for new mortgages, and a lot of people right now have really good rates locked in from prior mortgages, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat like artificially dampening like listings and stuff, because really you don't want to list if you have a good rate and you
Yeah.
need to lock in a new one.
I
That's
would be
shit.
careful calling it
kind-
artificial though, because I mean anything in economics can be real or artificial depending on how you view it. But yeah, I
Sure,
agree. Yeah.
Sure. But I guess my point being, I think to continue the real estate like mania in some ways, we need low interest rates again, because that's the real way we can go back into transacting and raising money and just actually having a market there that can be taken advantage of. With higher interest rates, it just doesn't seem like that can be the case.
Okay.
Do you disagree with that? Maybe I'm wrong.
I agree with what you're saying. I don't know if Trump cares. When you say he wants real estate, do you think are you saying like for personal enrichment?
No, well, in some ways, let's say he was overextended on real estate and said the price of that real estate wasn't as valuable as people think it was. Let's say that. If
Sure.
that was the case, he would need low interest rates to bring that value back up, right?
Yeah, I guess. The thing I always wonder for Trump stuff, and I haven't done like a deep dive on his business, I don't know if he's even worth like $1 billion or what. I don't know.
He's not. He would not.
Like
He
how
would
many
not
of
be
these?
doing Trump millennia coin bullshitty scamming everybody ever if he was worth so much money.
Like I don't know if any of these, how much like cash flow he has from any of these things. Like I don't know how much money like Mar-a-Lago makes or anything like that. So I don't know if I feel like I'm pretty sure the majority of his wealth has come from not Hollywood, but like The Apprentice, like being an actor. So
yeah.
I don't know how much he cares about incentivizing real estate stuff. But okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
Cool. So ultimately, though, lower rates boost speculative assets, potentially artificialing their valuations.
Okay,
I think everyone
sure.
can kind of agree with
I
this.
still don't like this word artificial, but go ahead.
Well, artificial in the sense that it might like.
It boosts the value. It boosts the value. It boosts the value.
Yeah, but it artificially boosts them in the sense that it's not worth as much if interest rates are lower.
Yeah, but again,
or higher,
I'm getting
right?
very like economics philosophy. When you say it's not worth as much, I think it's only worth as much as somebody's willing to buy or sell it for, right?
Right, but
Yeah.
people are only willing to buy and sell it for what it is worth right now because of the interest rates. So when interest rates come up, then the price of that asset goes down. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. Okay. Maybe. No, actually, I would disagree with that. People are willing to buy and sell it for what they think other people are willing to buy and sell it for in the future, unless they're
yes,
directly owning
yeah.
the thing itself and like trying to get like cash flow from it or whatever. Then they care about the fundamental stuff. But for investments and
agree.
everything, but I don't think this even matters. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I just don't like the word artificial.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, sure.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so this is kind of where I think Bitcoin and risky assets are interesting and why they're so tied to Trump in some ways.
Okay.
So really, with all of this like push towards Bitcoin, ETFs, and regulation, maybe going away, and more favorable terms for Bitcoin, I feel like we should have seen a much higher peak for Bitcoin, but essentially peaked out at the same place it peaked out in 2020. Really, and since then it's been going straight down. It has not really had any significant retrace of where it was before.
Okay.
So I think that Bitcoin is actually a lot more tied to, again, interest rates and the overall speculative market that it's in, and not like it can just go up forever. I mean, obviously it can't.
Yeah, I feel like when you overlay, I think we did this on Stream, I checked this, like when you overlay like Bitcoin with the markets, like they track decently well-ish. The idea that Bitcoin is some hyper-independent, unrelated market is a bit of a delusional fantasy. I feel that the Bitcoiner people like to push, but I feel like they're fairly related, yeah. If the economy crashes, Bitcoin is crashing. If the economy is exploding, Bitcoin is exploding, I feel.
Agree. And I think speculative assets can behave in a different way than the whole economy too. So if speculative assets, and I'll even include, say, tech, in that, if they increase, then Bitcoin can increase. But if they decrease, it can also take Bitcoin down with it.
Okay.
So, private equity and venture capital has been very interesting for the last like 4 or 5 years. I mean, 2020 to 2023, we saw insane valuations in private markets, especially in tech and AI. But really, that's cheap debt fueled massive speculation bets. Like, if you have cheap debt and you claim that the world will change because of your product, then people might not look into exactly what you're claiming. You know?
Sure, especially in the AI world. I can't like
Exactly.
prove anything, but like the valuation, like if you would have gone back even what 5 or 6 years and told somebody that Nvidia is going to be the most valuable market cap company in the world, I think everybody would rightfully laugh at you. So
And I totally agree.
it seems a little
And we
goofy.
get to that later.
Sure.
SPACs and IPOs surged. We know that, and they surged in a already overvalued market, and all of them got fucked to some extent. Like really, all of those SPACs never came back until
Wait, what is a SPAC? Speculative something.
special acquisition company, like companies that went live or public without necessarily an actual IPO process.
Okay.
But anyways,
Wait, I don't know what
SPACs
that
and
is. What is that? Is this a company that goes public for the purposes of just acquiring?
Yeah. Yes, it's a
Okay.
shell company that is basically IPO'd, and that can then be acquired by, say, or rather, a non-public company can use this special fucking company. I don't exactly understand how it works, but essentially, there's a company that is already IPO'd and that is publicly compliant that then gets merged with a company that isn't already publicly compliant, kind of bypassing the actual IPO process.
Okay. All right.
It's great for speculation and maybe not disclosing everything like the correct way.
Okay.
And it also, I think it speeds up this process a lot more too.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean the IPO speculation, but also just the VCs have been like spending money without giving a fuck for a very long time. I find it very interesting that JD Vance, who is now the vice president, has a PE background or private equity background.
Okay.
I don't think that's chance. I think he knows the importance of low interest rates as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also it allows for fiscal relief. So lower interest rates allows the US government to issue new debt by allowing, or just issue new debt at lower interest rates that they don't need to service later. Right? If I issue debt at 4 or 5%, that's a big commitment for a very long time.
Okay.
And we saw that the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So why can't the Fed easily lower interest rates? I think there's a lot to that. Inflation and credibility risks. The Fed's primary mandate is maintaining price stability. Persistent high inflation makes rate cuts risky, potentially signaling the Fed's lack of commitment to inflation control. Rate cuts during high inflation can exacerbate wage pressure, intensifying inflation further. I think they're at the point where if they cut rates, we just see inflation immediately cut away that rate gain. If we cut rates, inflation can just take away whatever benefits we get from that.
Okay.
So there isn't a real easy way to just cut rates. I mean, if you just cut rates, you could cut rates. So this is why I think it makes a lot of sense that Trump specifically is trying to force ceasefires, and remove inflationary pressure from the US, right? We see him essentially trying to protect Russian oil in some ways. We see him trying to rush this ceasefire as quick as he possibly can. We see him bombing the Houthis, who are, fucking with the supply chains. I really think that he needs to actually decrease core inflation before he can get the interest rate cuts that he needs. And I think this is a desperate attempt to do so.
Okay. Anything that's going to involve Trump having some kind of plan, I'm almost always going to not intuitively
Doesn't
feel
need to be
like
Trump himself. It just needs to be the people around him even.
Okay.
Like if, for example, everyone's sitting down in a room and we're like, all right, well, we all know we need 0% interest, but we can't get there without...
Okay. Yeah, I'm following you. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're trying to remove our inflationary pressures in some ways, basically. Pump and dump strategies are very interesting here. I mean, Trump and Musk are like the best pump and dumpers of all time, really. Mm-hmm. And they are shilling never before for Mag 7. I mean, really, they are just doing everything they possibly can to pump Mag 7 right now. Just always about them, especially Tesla, especially Nvidia, especially whoever,
Okay.
just consistently pushing it. But despite optimistic narratives from them, we see consistent decline in prices, no matter what happens. Nvidia yesterday or right before the rate cut decision had their most fluffy live GTC event I've ever seen, where they're talking about robotics and full self-driving
we
and all
watched
this
some
stuff.
of it last night. Yeah.
It's just like, guys, this is like the most obvious fucking pump I've ever seen. It's like all fluff. There's literally nothing there.
Well, except we know we're getting full self-drive soon, but go ahead.
Yes, we've been getting full self-driving for the last 7 years.
Yeah, but now it's coming next year for real.
Yes. Robotaxis are going to be driving everyone from LA to New York in no time. Okay?
In underground tunnels built by the Boring Company. Yes. Okay,
exactly.
go ahead.
But you only have one lane of traffic going one way, and hopefully there's no stops or.
Won't matter when you're going 230 miles per hour in Tesla Roadster 2s, which are going to be released as well. So.
Which are going to have 1 million kilometers of range and never need to charge ever and have rockets and fly.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever wonder why doesn't Trump just deny that a recession's about to happen?
No.
Never?
Well, I feel like he's
such a good liar. Why doesn't he just say, like, guys, we're fine. We're not going to have a recession. It's the best economy in the world.
I feel like it's probably easier especially if you're doing things like tariffs and everything, you know it's going to hurt your economy a little bit. You prepare people by saying, oh, it's okay. We're going to have a little bit of pain to have a lot of good later on.
You think that type of messaging is in Trump's...
I don't know. It's really, if you're asking me for, like I've said this in my stream, I have no theory of mind for this administration. I find it's very, very, very difficult to find a single underpinning ideology or philosophy that guides the decisions of this admin.
I agree. We're saying,
if you would say, like if Trump were not messaging on a recession, then I would just give you what I just said. Or if he was, I would say what I'm saying right now, that like, oh, well, he's just trying to prepare people to be ready for it. But if he wasn't, then I would just say, oh, well, he can just say whatever and it doesn't matter anyway, so nobody cares. So either way, like there's no way to explain. I can't predict anything that this admin will do.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, like, I feel like it's really easy for him to try and pump the economy a bit better, like the overall economy, but he's specifically pumping Mag 7 as much as he can, but he doesn't talk that much about the broader economy. Like, oh, I'm not watching the stock market, but also I'm pumping Tesla and Nvidia as much as I can, you know? Okay. I find that very fascinating.
Sure.
So my thoughts are explicitly denying a recession is really bad if you know there's going to be a really bad recession. Like, it's one thing if you think it's a small downturn, like he might even just bluff that. But if you know a serious recession is coming, you do not, message that. You don't message positivity when you know there's about to be a lot of pain.
Okay.
So instead, we see Trump strategically blaming external factors and like setting things up for other people to be the problem, right? Like when tariffs come in, he's going to say it's Canada's fault, it's Europe's fault, it's China's fault, it's the Democrats' fault. It's everyone else's fault. It's not his fault.
Sure.
We all know that. So that is my thought. Like tariffs to me are a great excuse to blame other countries for your economic problems.
Okay.
Especially when you know they are inevitable. There's nothing you can do. Then there's not really a big deal of implementing them because really it was going to happen either way.
Sure.
And then at least you get to blame the other countries. So my thoughts are we're about to enter both the dot-com bubble and the 2008 financial crisis combined.
Okay.
And there's a lot of reasons why I think that. In 2022, tech companies, Meg 7 primarily, primarily Meg 7, but also Meta and Tesla were like melting away right in front of us. We watched it. They were laying people off. The messaging was pretty clear. They were kind of
had
struggling.
More to do with like overhiring during COVID and right after and then laying off the excess workers. But okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. I actually don't disagree.
Okay.
But I think layoffs are a bigger symptom of pain than progress towards AI, right? Like if we thought AI was around the corner, it was going to change the world, would we also be like laying people off right now if we can make it? Probably not.
Yeah, my feeling about AI is that we've hit the like 80% thing and AI is not going much further until there's another big breakthrough, I think.
I totally agree with you.
Okay.
So essentially in 2022, stocks were going down, they were laying people off, and then all of a sudden things turned around because of AI. Okay. AI was going to change the world, revenue started increasing again. But really, all we saw to me is a ton of fluff and bullshit, really. And if you look at Nvidia's revenue, almost all of it comes from like Mag 7, like just exclusively.
Okay.
So really, it doesn't seem like a strong market to say, we're a monopoly and we're going to grow forever. And also, we are each other's biggest customers in some ways. But just trust us, AI demand is going to be insane.
Okay.
Like to me, this is like exactly what happened in the dot-com bubble. They just start pumping. It's going to change the world. It's going to do everything and anything. But at the end of the day, it might do it, but not next year, the year after, the year after that, like, or it might, but really, why are we betting on many years of growth when we barely see a business model even now? ChatGPT's business model, the end consumer really isn't willing to pay that much. In my opinion, Netflix might even be a better business model for the end consumer, unless you're solely working on productivity within tech, maybe. Like I could see a tech company paying a lot for a good model that can replace a person, maybe.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, like the end consumer has to be either to replace people for tech or make your workers more productive. And honestly, that's it. Otherwise, no one else is going to pay for it. They're not going to pay for it at an amount that makes sense for its valuation.
Okay. All I can do is, I don't know. This is kind of all outside my wheelhouse. Like I haven't studied in those areas, so I can just kind of like nod along, but all right.
All right. Yeah, so really, in my opinion, tech was kind of on a tech recession in 2022, and it seemed like a pretty big pivot to try and save them some time by pushing AI just like they did in the dot-com bubble. And it's very interesting when you think about it. 5 of the 7 Mag 7 companies were a part of the original dot-com bubble. Like, it's kind of interesting to think that. And the only 2 that aren't are Tesla and Meta. And those are also quite, dubious in terms of their valuations.
Okay.
Cool. Why do I think it's a 2008 crisis as well? So major banks began liquidating branches and redeeming bonds. This is very reminiscent of the 2008 banking behavior. Trump, I feel like, again, let's give me some credit. And obviously, he could be just an idiot, and I think that's fine. But to me, his messaging, his fear messaging, is very, very targeted at a specific group of people, and I feel like it's seniors specifically. I think seniors, if we can get a bank run from seniors, that could be a serious, serious problem for a bunch of countries.
Well, don't you always message towards seniors anyways, because they're just the people that are most likely to vote? Yes,
for sure. But I think like targeting specific countries and trying to scare their seniors into some bank run type thing it's a very fascinating idea. And if we can get some banks into a tricky spot when they're already in a tricky spot just by messaging at their seniors, then we could see some bank collapses. If we see a single bank collapse, it's over already, right?
Okay.
So anyways, in 2000, we see tons of branches being closed. We see them trying to raise liquidity, and there's already some signs of stress and cracks, in my opinion. Credit card delinquency rates are rising sharply. I mean, we're at 11.35% in late 2024, and in 2008, it was around 13.7%. So we're getting close to the 2008 delinquency rate, and things are not getting cheaper right now. If we have job losses, we're going to see a big increase in delinquencies. And the best part is we know there's going to be job losses already, because no matter what, Tesla production is going to be shut down. And no matter what, U.S. government is going to be impacted by its jobs as well. I mean, it seems
how many
like there
people
might be
does Tesla even employ?
100,000, I think.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not necessarily a collapse per se, but I'm just saying job losses will, like delinquency rates will go up. I mean, if they're at this rate now before tariffs, you will see delinquencies go up.
Okay.
And job losses go up as well. So I think we're seeing something very similar to Japan in some ways, like the initial bubble of Japan and then the subsequent stagflation of Japan in the US in some ways. It's really just being masked by AI progress and Mag 7 revenue, which cannot grow forever. That is not possible. So at some point, this bubble has to pop, or Mag 7 needs to diversify their revenue away from each other. And we already see things like data centers being canceled. And we already see pressure, in my opinion, from Mag 7 to get those lower interest rates. I mean, I think there's a good reason why they're aligning themselves so much right now with Trump. And I think it's because they need it in a lot of ways. So really, I have a little bit more, but that's my basic thesis. There's more in regional bank stresses too, like Silicon Valley Bank collapsing first makes a lot of sense. FTX collapsing, First Republic Bank collapsing. I think we're going to see more and more bank collapses, but we only need one major bank, and then we will know we're in 2008. And we can't wait until we're in 2008 to prepare for it, you know?
All right. What do you want people to do?
I don't have a strong opinion on what people do, but I know what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
I have been betting against Tesla since it was peaked and been making a bunch on it. But I know the best thing about this is I know it won't come back up. It's not really possible anymore.
The wait, what won't
The
come back up?
Tesla. It's planning to go down either way. So at this point, it's a perfect bet. Like, it will never go back up to where it was before. We see sales collapsing across the board, and we see Musk not giving a fuck in some ways. Like, if you are worried about protests on Tesla and boycotts of Tesla, you and I both know the last thing you do is actually acknowledge that they work,
Okay.
right? Like, if you want people to stop protesting, you don't say, guys, please stop protesting. It's bad for me. Like, obviously he wants it in some ways because he wants an excuse for Tesla to collapse. And he doesn't want it to be his fault.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, that's it. So my conclusion is Trump and Musk, their behaviors reflect calculated and desperate attempts to influence monetary policy. And they specifically want decreased interest rates at all costs.
Okay.
And that's it. So if you want to bring other people in or talk about it with me, I'm all ears.
I don't have like I generally don't have like the super unifying things for across so many domains, so I can't even speak to the whether or not I would believe or not believe. It's just hard for me to say. If you want, I could drag in like another person or two to chat about it if you want.
Sure.
Are you in my Discord?
Yes, I think so.
Can you join? I've got a channel called Stream Disagreements. If you join there, I'll drag you up.
Sounds good. I'll do that.
Jesus. All right, we're at Metalloid. You can go if you want.
Hello.
Hi. Okay.
Like, also, I know we don't have like crazy, knowledges, but there's some things that I find interesting, which is like when peak hype has been hit and there's like no more room to go up. Like at some point, every bubble or every like Ponzi scheme hits a point where it's like, okay, I could announce that I'm sending men to Mars tomorrow. Is my stock going to go up?
Sure.
Like it, and I think we're at the point where for a lot of things, like we're just past that. Like Nvidia announces 30% more efficiency and like overall better everything, and also AI demand is going to be infinite, and also full self-driving, and also robots, and also that, and it's just like stock down. Okay. They have record earnings, and also stock down. Like at some point, there will never be stock up. It will just go down because the bubble has burst.
Sure. What do you want, Metalloid? You're here.
I mean, what angle do you want me to come from? He's said so many things.
Whatever you want. I'm all ears, man. I could be wrong too. So.
Your basic thesis sounds like Trump and his goonies want interest rates down because it's easier to do real estate market.
No. That's not my point. My point is low interest rate basically benefits everyone. Like it benefits the Bitcoiners because they need speculative assets to increase. It benefits Trump because he wants his real estate to be worth more. It benefits Elon because he has a ton of speculative assets that also increase in value. Literally all of them across the board benefit from low interest rates. That was my point.
Right. So why would they want interest rates down for themselves if they're already incredibly rich and can do everything they already want to do with low interest rates without them being low?
I'm sorry, they are never rich enough, ever.
Okay, so it's just infinite rich. Yes. Is the goal. Just be richer and richer forever.
I'm sorry,
infinitely.
Do we stop when we're at $350 billion of value? It doesn't seem like it to me. It seems like we want more.
Okay, so there is no framework around anything else except more rich. That is it.
Yes.
All they care about is being more rich.
Yes. And also,
they don't care about
Recession. Sorry, go ahead.
They don't care about like Like Trump he doesn't care at all about his constituents in any way. Like
No,
even he's a
absolutely not.
retard, of course, but like
Not a little bit. Not even 1%. I think if he could shoot his constituents in front of them, but get richer at the end, and no one knew about it, he would.
okay,
But he does not care.
why would he have like the scam coin then, and then like release the like his parts, whatever the fuck you call it, I can't remember. Like over time, why didn't he just like rip it all off to begin with? Like why is he doing all of these pussy things to like hold it off for longer or like make less money?
What are you talking about? He's been trying as desperately as he can to scam his fans.
Yes, but that's not. He can't like the scam coin he made literally didn't allow him to sell until a certain point, right? Why would he do that if he doesn't care about any of his people?
Why would he push crypto coins on his fans if he wasn't planning on just taking the money from them? Like, are they going to get richer because they're investing in Melania coin?
Hold on,
I just agreed with that.
Let me just hold on. I'm sorry, clarifying an argument. So Jake is saying that Trump doesn't give a fuck about his constituents at all, and what Metaloid is saying is that if he didn't care about them whatsoever, if we took a look at something like Trump coin, why wouldn't he have no vesting period at all? Why wouldn't he have just been able to instantly mass dump that? It seems like at the very least he cares about his constituents' opinions, is what Metaloid is saying. Okay, go ahead.
I think maybe I agree with that, but I think like really, just because you don't rug pull like in the most obvious way possible, I don't know if that means he cares about them per se. You know, like I think if he didn't do it in the first place would show more of a care about it. Like at the end of the day, we know any investment in Trump coin or Melania coin or any of those coins isn't going to benefit anyone but himself or the people that are invested in it.
Okay.
Would you disagree with that?
Because he didn't do it in the most obvious way, which it's already a pretty obvious way, because like pretty much everyone agrees that it's a scam coin. He's scamming people. So because it wasn't even more obvious, he has some ulterior opinion that is forcing these things.
I just don't get it. Like I'm saying, I don't think because he's not just rug pulling instantly and has something more in his favor. I don't think that means he cares about his constituents. You know,
what is influencing those actions then? Why isn't he just going all out? Like he has the ability to. He is the president. Like his people support him pretty much to like insane degrees.
I mean, if I can scam $100 million, but instead I scam 50, does that mean I care about my constituents? Like I don't know how to answer this question, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So let's say he wants a recession, right? You said a bunch of things about wanting recession.
Well, here, wait. Well, we can think about that point, right? Let's say that somebody puts like extra expensive and super comfortable lazy boys inside of the gas chambers in Auschwitz, right? Well, that would be kind of weird, right?
That would be kind of weird, I would say.
Yeah, because you're just there to mass kill him anyway. So why would you?
But I also wouldn't say, well, clearly he cares about people because he's not.
No, but we would probably look at that and wonder, like, well, it seems like there's something going on here that can't just be explained by like pure hatred or something, right? There's something has to be happening here, right?
Well, I'm not saying it's pure hatred. I'm just saying I think if he knows like the adequate amount to scam without just being an obvious scam, like it's a very obvious scam, but at least it's not like just the most obvious rug pull ever.
Okay, so then the answer there for Metaloid then, so the answer is he doesn't care about the people, but he does care about their opinions in so much as he wants to stay in power.
Yes, okay. I think that would make a lot of sense. So like he's like trying to
understand
optimize
the
scam.
idea. It's just it doesn't really like.
If he's so rich, why even do it
whatever things he's doing, you can then like pass off the like dependency or the agency of like kind of him and like him caring about people to just saying, oh, he wants to be in power for longer. So I'll approach any like thing you've said and I'll go down to why it might not be, the most optimal way he could obviously do it and he knows he could do it. And then you'll just say, oh, well, he wants to stay in power for longer. And that's why he's doing it this way.
We don't need to operate on a fundamental, like, is he doing it as effectively as he can? Like, are we doing
the absolute literally saying that he wants to make, like, you are essentially coming at this argument. Like the whole premise of your thing is he's trying to become richer and richer, right? And now you're telling me that he doesn't need to do it in the most optimal way. That makes no sense.
Why, if he's so rich, does he need to scam his audience in any way?
Okay. So are we now approaching him from a logical level? We're like, he isn't a logical level.
I'm just saying he obviously is intending to scam people. Whether he scams them with 100% efficiency or not, I don't know what that matters. Whether I just don't understand. The fact that he has to do it at all shows that he's not as financially sound as we think he is. or he's trying to get one last hurrah off of his audience. But either way, it doesn't show good. It doesn't show like anything positive. And on Elon's side, the dude has the most money in the world, according to him. Why does he need more?
The whole premise you're coming at is that they want more money. They only want more money, right?
They do, yeah. That's why they're billionaires.
Why, when they already have the power, they have already been voted in. They literally cannot be not voted in. I mean, unless you think he's like, oh no. If you think he's like going with the like he wants to have the best rep and like go for a third term or whatever the hell, so he can't like instantly blow up everything.
He doesn't need rep for that, yeah.
Okay, like, but then why is he not doing this like in the most simple way? He does a scam coin. He just rug pulls everyone, right? Like everyone that supports him would continue supporting him. You wouldn't need to do all of these other things. Like you could come from the angle that he's like, doing the transaction fees and stuff like that. But your whole thing is that he only cares about himself and making himself more rich. None of that makes any sense in any way or is justifiable if all he wants to do is make himself more rich.
I don't know what you're. I honestly, but Des, I'm not sure if I'm following your point. Like he could scam more efficiently, therefore he's not scamming, or like he's just not doing it right, and he cares about the constituents, and that's why he's doing it at a less efficiency. Like, what is the point here? So that I can attack that or engage with it. Like maybe I'm
what
just
is that
missing
point?
it.
Metalloid, what's your point?
The point is that like what I'm trying to come onto here is that there's obviously like a if all he wants to do is just one thing, but he also cares about other things, but you're saying he doesn't. Like you're saying he doesn't care about his constituents in any way. Like he doesn't care about like whatever he stands for in any way whatsoever, his legacy, etc. He just wants to be more rich. That's why I came into it, and I asked you, and that was your like fundamental point, right? And I'm trying to attack that and saying that he does care about other things.
Okay.
That kind of takes away from the idea of just
stop.
wanting to
Okay,
be
hold
more
on.
rich.
The argument. Okay, hold on. We're getting lost in semantics. Wait. So the argument that Jake is making is that Trump doesn't sincerely care about his people. He just wants to get as much as he can from them as possible, or he wants to enrich himself as much as possible. And then Metalloid, you're basically saying like, okay, well, this guy who owns slaves has like bedrooms for literally every slave, and so how could he possibly not care about them? But the only reason he has the places for his slaves to sleep is so that they continue working for him. So Trump cares about his constituents only insofar as he can enrich himself off of their popular support. That's the argument, or that's what he's saying, right?
Okay, well, you perfectly perfectly summarized my side.
Yeah, we'll just go through the individual points.
Okay.
Because I can't attack the framework, I don't think, and that would be stupid to anyways. The interest rates lower thing is not like a actual argument. They can do everything they want to do with higher interest rates anyways, and there are actually examples of this benefiting them.
Though?
Okay, so
what if they can't? Is the question.
They can. Higher interest rates inherently benefit rich people. They benefit like larger companies, and they don't benefit smaller companies and poorer.
How does a higher interest rate benefit a large company, especially one that may be over leveraged or not making much money?
Okay, you have a fundamental like kind of you don't really understand like most of the spec companies. Most of them aren't over leveraged. Pretty much all of them have incredibly good balance sheets. They're like the best run companies in our in centuries. And all of them benefit from higher interest rates because firstly, if they're massive cash balance sheets, okay, so they can just earn money from that. Secondly, all of the small cap companies cannot get lending for reasonable amounts. So you basically have this period where small caps or smaller size companies do not have the ability to grow as easily. Okay, the capital markets have been basically destroyed for the last 3 years, ever since interest rates were actually started raising. Because the only parts that have actually come alive has been AI, because that's the only parts that the capital has been able to go to outweigh the interest rates, which is basically you can get money, you can make money elsewhere for cheaper, right? You don't need to give it to
AI is a bubble, though? That's my question to you.
Okay, that doesn't stop that you being wrong about the part for interest rates needing to be low.
No, what I'm saying is if AI is a bubble, we need low interest rates to continue the speculation.
You do not need. But that is something that people have said for ages. People I've been following the AI bubble since day, and I was even investing on it. From 2022 or 2023 actually, when people actually started realizing it, markets wise, there was no point ever where people were like, oh, we need interest rates lower for this bubble to continue. That's not how it works. This bubble is already gone, quote unquote bubble.
You know why the dot-com bubble bursted?
It's not relevant to this.
Oh, it's not relevant? Okay. Sorry, continue.
Wait, hold
it's
on.
not
Just as a real quick thing for when we talk about bubbles bursting and everything, if you want low interest rates, you might be able to push at it a little bit more, but inevitably a bubble is going to burst because there's been a miscalculation of the trajectory of something, of the future value of a thing, and it's going to come down. If you have low interest rates, maybe you can stave that off a little bit, but it's still going to happen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I'm proposing is
it's about
what I'm
expectations
proposing is
getting
that
misaligned with reality.
Yes.
Yeah. Like back in the bubble of like #01, it was fiber. Like basically this is how basically everything goes. Like for the railways, they were making railways, and every time they made a new railroad, the like area around the railroad would get super expensive because everyone would move there, and there would be like new buildings that get made, and everyone like the actual value of it would go up. So what happened was everyone was buying all the land around the future railways, and then there was massive debt that got like built up on like these local governments, especially the southern ones. And eventually, when it stopped, like they stopped being able to just make more railways and just make more money on that, they all defaulted on that, and you faced the massive depression of the 1880s. And then this happened again with the fiber cables and also networking in
did interest rates go up in that bubble?
No, that wasn't because of interest rates. It was just the inevitable outcome of all bubbles, which is you have a bubble that happens, you have expectations and reality are aligned, and then what happens is you have a feedback loop. The feedback loop is you make a railway, you buy all the land around the railway, people move in, the value of the area around the railway goes up, right? And then you make money off that, you sell it, and then another railway is made, and then you buy the land around that, and then eventually it fails, right?
Can I ask you a question? If companies do over leverage themselves, let's say we're speculating on AI's growth in the future and we're building tons of data centers and we're buying GPUs at a very high rate and like all this stuff, right? We're investing in it.
Yeah.
We're not investing in AI infrastructure.
No, none of that's being financed through leverage. Pretty much all of the expansion in AI, and you can see this actually by going to the balance sheets if you did any research, is being financed by the hyperscalers. They have like hundreds of billions of cash flow.
Those guys are really known for performing really well in high interest rate environments.
You know what hyperscalers are? That's Microsoft, Oracle, Amazon, the ones with massive balance sheets.
You're listing my bubble targets, actually. Also, you forgot Nvidia, Tesla, and Microsoft. Oh, wait, you said Microsoft.
Nvidia isn't a hyperscaler. They are not a hyperscaler. They are a seller of products to hyperscalers, okay?
Right.
Hyperscaler is someone that rapidly uptakes a new product, right? Sells it to a existing customer base, right? Like the cloud products or stuff like that. Or
so
can
each
also
other,
take it to other places. No, not to each other.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you know Meg 7's customer base is basically each other, like entirely? Especially Nvidia?
If you think Microsoft is using AWS, you have no idea what's going on. I can tell you.
Microsoft is like the main customer of Nvidia, and I think overall
that's not AWS.
Over half of
AWS is a cloud providing platform, okay, for Fortune 500 and other companies, okay. Nvidia, right? They sell chips, right, to Apple. Also, not Apple. Apple does a bit, but mostly they're in silicon, right? So they sell it to Microsoft, Google. Google has their own TPU though. They do through Broadcom, and Amazon actually does theirs through Alchip and what's the name, Marvel. So they all have their own individuals. End customer of AI is right now enterprise. Okay, a lot of people get mixed up with the idea that there needs to be a consumer product for AI. Everyone focuses on open, what's it called, ChatGPT and stuff like that. Those are actually good, but they're not going to make a massive improvement because consumers don't face the ability to make productivity improvements with like realistic AI as it exists now. Eventually, it will be, but enterprise is a better place to go for AI. For example, advertising has made around 10 billion. I think they said around 10.
Hello?
Basically recommendation algorithms in Reels and stuff like that. ByteDance has also ordered a bunch of GPUs for this. They have massive GPU farms, okay, purely for recommendation models, okay? ByteDance and Meta account for a lot of GPU bought, and none of that has anything to do with AI. It's purely just machine learning and recommendation models, okay? But you would never know this because you haven't researched any of it. You're just saying, oh, big companies go up, that's making leverage on AI, and this is going to blow up, when you have no idea how any of this works.
So if Nvidia keeps profiting record profits, and they keep saying next thing is going to be this, and next thing is going to be that, 30% up, 30% more efficient, 30% faster, 30% better, why doesn't the stock just keep going up all the time? Why does it go down at any point if it's just always better? We record profits every single year, and we see a massive sell-off. Massive.
Wait, massive sell-off? When?
Yeah. So how far is Nvidia down from its...
You do realize that last year in July it went down 20% as well, right?
Wait, hold
Yeah,
on.
It's
I
just-
don't know
it's
what.
just
There,
very
hold on. Wait.
interesting. That was
Wait.
very
Hold on.
interesting.
I'm sorry. Real quick. So the reason why this happens is because people price in future expectations to current price. So for instance,
Right.
let's say that the expectation is that the balance sheet or the income or whatever is going to increase like 30% on a given company, and then the quarterly earnings comes in and it only went up 20%. The stock price will probably decrease, even though they posted a really positive earnings, because the current price is incorporating what people think the future earnings report will be. So even if the earnings report is good, really good,
Right.
if it's not as good as they thought it would be, then the stock price will reflect that once earnings come out, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's my point. So if we
Exactly.
are,
What?
if
No,
we
that
are-
doesn't go to your point
okay.
at all. What are you on about?
All right,
You-
listen,
no,
man.
no, no,
If you're
no.
doing- okay, I'm not going to talk anymore. You just go for it.
Yeah,
Keep
let him
going.
finish.
Go ahead.
Let him finish his sentence. Go.
There you go. Yeah.
No, go ahead, man. Let's hear it.
Oh, you can go. Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you. My bad.
I mean, I haven't actually really been able to say anything, to be honest. But if
No,
you'd like me to, I'm ready.
Yeah, you can go.
So if we're pricing in so much forward growth, right, and that forward growth fails to materialize for X, Y, and Z reason, what happens to that stock?
Is that a rhetorical question, or you want me to answer?
No, it's very simple, right? And like it's going to go down, and it's going to go down quite aggressively, especially the more forward we're looking. So my point is, if Mag 7 is basically being the main accelerator of this growth, and Mag 7 no longer buys as much GPUs, maybe it's easier to train AI, maybe AI is less impactful for Mag 7, maybe they're prioritizing something else or whatever, that has serious implications for Nvidia, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is we see data centers being canceled, we see Nvidia revenue at its all-time highs, but we're probably going to see further decline, not growth. We're not going to see infinite growth. And if Nvidia has been pushing very aggressively at figuring out their supply chain, if they fix their supply chain and are able to produce way more GPUs, then supply and demand would say that they cannot charge the same amount when they increase their supply. And there's not infinite demand, right? It's literally like a killing problem, right? If we fix GPU supply and there isn't infinite demand, GPU supply, our prices will go down. That's just how it works. So it's in their best interest to pretend like they have infinite demand and that they're just around the corner to fixing supply, but never actually fix supply.
Okay. You done?